lot of people are saying that Dune 2 is a masterpiece. And I'm like, where? It's not clicking for me. It was a struggle to stay awake for this nearly 3 hour film. I saw it in IMAX, and there were parts of it that I appreciated, but for the most part, it was a no for me. I don't get it. Now, full disclosure, I don't generally go for sci fi epics. I don't like most of them. Some I like I appreciate it. I liked The Creator last year. But this, wow, this was confusing. It was repetitive. I didn't like it. At any rate, Dune Part 2 is the second in this three-part series, which is co-written and directed by Denis Villeneuve. I saw Dune, the first Dune by Denis Villeneuve, and I didn't like that either. It's currently on HBO. It is a struggle to get through. I think the overall world I'm not grasping because it does look good. Reed Fraser's cinematography is captured very beautifully, and I get the epicness of it all. But the overall story, I think where it's concentrated is where it didn't resonate with me. Now this film is stacked with talent. You got Timothee Chalamet, Zendaya, Rebecca Ferguson, Javier Bardem, Josh Brolin, Austin Butler, Florence Pugh, David Bautista, Christopher Walken, Lee Seydoux, Stellan Skarsgård, and many more. This is stacked. Here's the thing. Where it's concentrated on Timothée Chalamet's character and Zendaya's character, I don't think serves the world. For me, the story concentrating on Timothée Chalamet's character, it wasn't clicking for me. I was more interested in Rebecca Ferguson's character and Florence Pugh's character, and Florence Pugh is grossly underserved here. Her storyline makes sense, and her father in this film, Christopher Walken, that arc there makes sense, but it's like so heavily concentrated on Timothée Chalamet's character, and it just, I understand why for the larger part of the story, but it was like boring to me. And the love story between he and Zendaya, because I know that they're like best friends in real life, the chemistry was off. It didn't work for me. Now, the battle scenes, there were some really big battle scenes, but they didn't work. Like, this is a PG-13 film, and I don't think it serves the story because the battle scenes were very weak in that way. There are some that are, the stunt choreography was good, especially the final one, even though it was underwhelming. The final one, meaning between Austin Butler's character and Timothée Chalamet's character, they have a final battle scene that I think the choreography was good. It was decent, but because it's PG-13, it was just, some of these battle scenes were so weak. Oh my gosh. Like when they're doing, I know the PG-13, they want to have a general audience for the most part, but this story for a general audience just doesn't work for me, I think. And it just seems so repetitive. Like it was heavily concentrated in the desert, which I get, but a lot of that, because it spent 2 hours in the desert, it got very old very fast because it seemed to be the same thing over and over and over again, and that made for some really shoddy editing at times. It really did. Now, Hans Zimmer's score was good. I think his score paired well with the scenes, but I saw this in IMAX, and at times my ears were ringing. It was so loud. It reverberated in the seat and throughout across the theater. but it was so loud and overpowering at times. My ears were ringing when I left the theater. I don't know. I think this is a no for me. I would not recommend this film, especially if you don't like sci-fis and you didn't see the first film or don't know the overall story. This seemed so claustrophobic, not knowing or not being able to follow piece by piece what was going on for the larger concept and premise, to not understand all of that because it's so nuanced, I think distanced me from the world, and the fact that it's so concentrated, you don't know the rest of the world. It seemed very contained in that way because it really does spend a lot of time, most of the runtime, in that desert, and it just felt contained in that way. I don't know. I know a lot of people are going to see this twice, and I thought I should see it twice so that I can get it, be able to unpack what's going on, to decode it. But at this point, I don't know. Like, the runtime is nearly 3 hours. It's too repetitive for me. I don't think I can even decode this film. I am not interested. Now, what had my eyes popping were the wardrobes. Jacqueline West, Oscar nominated Jacqueline West. She's also nominated this year for an Oscar for Killers of the Flower Moon. I love her costumery. The costumes in this film were fantastic. It was so well crafted. Her eye for costumes is unmatched. I think the wardrobe in this film was stunning, but it's just not for me. I don't know. And I was in a packed theater and people were in on it and they were clapping at the end. I was like, what's not clicking? What's not clicking with me? I don't get it. This was a dud for me. Other than the costumes, I would have preferred Rebecca Ferguson and Florence Pugh and even Lisa Seydoux character. I want to see their world. I want to see their storylines because they were more interesting to me than Timothee Chalamet. And then the whole messiah of it all, this blonde hair, blue-eyed messiah, forcing him to be a messiah, and even his mom, like, it was like, okay, no, it's not clicking. At any rate, listen, I know this isn't the best review. This was a dud for me. It was a chore to even get through. I was struggling to stay awake because it was so repetitive. I wouldn't recommend this film. It is a dud for me. But if you're going to see it, because it is an epic film, you may want to see it on like IMAX or Dolby. Or, I mean, I wish I would have just waited till June to see it on Max. At any rate, Dune Part 2 is available in theaters this weekend. The original Dune by Denis Villeneuve is currently streaming on Max. I would recommend you wait until it's on Max in like June, July, because $20 for this is just, it wasn't giving.